Adopt a vibrant and clear delivery that brings the story's imagery to life. The pace should be measured and rhythmic, allowing dramatic moments to land with force and quiet moments to feel intimate. Infuse key phrases with purposeful energy and a hint of steel, reflecting the defiance of the characters. Speak with an authoritative yet personal tone, as if you are a witness to these events, sharing a truth that must be remembered. A woman wakes before sunrise to the bitter smell of coffee and the soft buzz of her phone. She is a claims adjuster, the kind of person who quietly puts numbers on accidents and heartbreak. Today, she opens 2 files, 2 almost identical crashes, 2 families shaken in the same way, 2 cars crumpled with the same harsh geometry of bad luck. She studies the photos, breathes, taps her calculator, and writes a number that feels right. Across town, another adjuster does the same with a different number that also feels right. Neither is biased. Both are careful. Yet the space between their answers hums with a kind of static you can't see. It's there when 2 doctors disagree over the same scan, when 2 teachers grade the same essay, when 2 judges hear the same story and choose different fates. This is not the loud drama of corruption, but the quiet drift in judgment that changes outcomes without anyone noticing. Noise, a flaw in human judgment, gives that static a name and a plan. Daniel Kahneman, Olivier Sibony, and Cass Sunstein bring different strengths to the same problem. Kahneman, the Nobel laureate behind Thinking Fast and Slow, maps how minds make and miss the mark. Sibony, a strategist and teacher, shows how those misses play out inside real companies where choices cost real money. Sunstein, a legal scholar with deep experience in public policy, cares about fairness and the everyday dignity of being treated the same as someone like you. Together, they trace a hidden pattern across courtrooms, clinics, and offices. People using similar information and similar intentions still land far apart, and they underestimate how far apart they are. This book stays close to the ground, full of scenes you recognize: the humming open office, the windowless meeting room, the courtroom with the dusty carpet. It shows why the spread matters and how to shrink it. The core idea is simple and unsettling. Bias is systematic error. It tilts judgments. Noise is unwanted variability. It scatters judgments that should be identical. When 2 experts look at the same case and reach different conclusions, the gap between them is noise. Over thousands of decisions, those gaps add up to money lost, health harmed, and trust eroded. The hopeful twist is that reducing noise doesn't require genius or heroic willpower. It requires hygiene, clear definitions, structured ratings, independent assessments, calibrated scales, and the discipline to separate feelings from facts without losing our humanity. Imagine the claims office again. The fluorescents hum. The adjuster sips coffee, reads witness notes, and estimates a payout. She believes she is following the handbook, yet her number is shaped by mood and by the last case she handled. Another adjuster, equally skilled, might land higher or lower for reasons unrelated to the file. That spread is system noise, and leaders rarely know how big it is until they measure it. The authors describe a revealing exercise any organization can run. Take a set of typical cases, ask several qualified people to judge them independently without discussion. Compare the results. Managers usually predict a small gap, then stare at a wide one. It is like turning down party music and finally hearing the refrigerator buzz. That glimpse is not about blame. It is a mirror you cannot forget. Noise comes in flavors. There is level noise. Some judges, doctors, or adjusters are consistently harsher or more generous. There is pattern noise. People weigh the same cues differently. And there is occasion noise. the randomness of the moment, Friday fatigue, sunlit optimism, the residue of the previous case. Together, they create a swirl that looks like fate, but is really avoidable variance. Walk into a courtroom. The air is dry. The carpet smells faintly of dust and paper. Two defendants with near-identical records stand beneath the same fluorescent lights. One judge hears a trembling apology and imagines rehabilitation. Another stares at the same file and tightens inside. The outcomes part like a river around a rock. Most of us believe justice should depend on facts, not on the calendar slot or the temperament of the bench. Yet without countermeasures, noise rides silently in with the robe and gavel. Now follow a hospital corridor that smells of antiseptic and citrus. Two physicians look at the same scan. One sees a shadow and reads danger. The other sees normal variation. Expertise is real, but it is not identical from hour to hour or person to person. This isn't a takedown of professionals, it's a rescue mission, protecting good judgment from the invisible scatter that undermines it. So, what do we do? The book offers decision hygiene, habits like washing hands before surgery. First, define the judgment carefully. What exactly are you trying to predict or evaluate? Second, break the judgment into mediating assessments, separate, specific questions that different reviewers can rate independently. Third, keep inputs independent for as long as possible. Early opinions anchor later ones. Private ratings travel straighter than group chatter. If you have ever hired someone, you know the enchantment of a great conversation. Unstructured interviews feel insightful because they feel human, but they produce a lot of noise. Two interviewers can love the same candidate for different reasons and still disagree wildly on performance predictions. Structured interviews, same questions, same rating scales, independently scored, feel colder in the moment, but they lead to better, more consistent judgments. It's the difference between jazz and sheet music. One dazzles, the other aligns the band so the song actually works. Another hygiene practice is the outside view. Before anchoring on the particulars, ask what usually happens amongst similar cases. What is the base rate? Our minds love the vivid story in front of us. Base rates cut through that charm with a steady baseline. Start with the outside view, then adjust for the inside view. You reduce noise and bias together. This is especially powerful in forecasting, pricing, and risk, where patterns in the background tell you more than details in the foreground. Scales matter more than we think. Build clear, behaviorally anchored rating scales. Instead of poor, average, excellent, define what excellent looks like with concrete actions and outcomes. Calibrate reviewers on shared examples so a 4 means roughly the same thing across the team. Without this, a 4 from one rater is another's 2. Rehearse your scales. Refine the anchors until numbers match meaning. Groups can both amplify and tame noise. Get the process wrong, and you strengthen the loudest voice and anchor everyone to the first opinion. Get it right, and you harness real wisdom. Gather independent judgments first, in writing, before any discussion. Aggregate mechanically, then explore differences. Let the leader speak last. Silence at the top is protective. It keeps the room from orbiting a single sun. What about algorithms and simple rules? The point is not to abandon humans, but to combine them with consistent tools. Simple, transparent models, a handful of predictors added together, often beat unaided experts, not because they are brilliant, but because they are steady. Rules don't have moods. A modest model plus human review can be fairer and more accurate than either alone. We resist this because of algorithm aversion. The antidote is humility and testing. Use the tool that reduces error and noise. There is also a moral layer. Noise is not just inefficient, it is unjust. If a person's fate depends on which nurse, teacher, or judge they meet, the system is unfair by design. The same applies to customers quoted very different prices for the same risk, or students graded more harshly in the morning than in the afternoon. Clean decisions are a form of respect. Reducing noise treats people as equals. How do you see the noise you cannot hear? Run a noise audit. It is disarmingly simple. Pick representative cases. Have several qualified people make independent judgments. Compare the spread. Do not let people discuss or see each other's answers until the ratings are in. When the results land, rooms go quiet. Leaders who guessed a narrow gap discover a canyon. This is not a moment for blame. It is a mirror. From there, the path is clear. Tighten definitions, build structured scales, add base rates, separate the stages of judgment, and test whether the scatter shrinks. One more small human scene. A hiring manager sits with a candidate's file, paper warm from the printer. She wants to trust her gut. She remembers a dazzling interview that led to disappointment and an awkward one that became a star. She slows down. She scores each trait on the structured scale her team agreed on. She looks up base rates, enters the numbers, and reads her notes aloud to herself. Only then does she make a small, deliberate adjustment and explain why. The decision feels calmer. This is the spirit of the book. It is not a call to strip judgment of humanity, but to save its best parts by shielding them from scatter. In a world that prizes speed and charisma, there is courage in being methodical, pausing, asking for independent views, and using simple rules where they beat instinct. Noise is the unwanted variability in human judgments that should be identical. It hides in courtrooms, clinics, call centers, classrooms, and open offices. Bias tilts decisions. Noise scatters them. Both can coexist, and both are costly. Kahneman, Sibony, and Sunstein show that most institutions underestimate how wide their internal scatter really is, and they show how to shrink it. The remedy is decision hygiene. Define the judgment precisely so people aim at the same target. Break it into mediating assessments that can be rated independently. Keep inputs separate until ratings are in, then aggregate and discuss. Use behaviorally anchored scales and calibrate them with shared examples. Adopt the outside view and start from base rates before adjusting to the specifics. Build simple, transparent rules where they beat intuition and invite human review where empathy matters. Run a noise audit, not to shame, but to see. The payoff is practical and moral. Lower error, clearer choices, fairer treatment, and a calmer culture. If this journey through noise stirred something in you, let it be this. You can quiet the static. Pick one decision in your world and clean it. Define it, split it, rate it, and keep the early opinions apart. Ask for base rates. Try a simple rule. See what changes. If you want more deep dives where big ideas meet everyday choices, subscribe and share this with someone who makes hard calls. And tell me in the comments where you feel noise most and which one routine you will try this week to bring a little order to the chaos.